Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Ryan. It's great to have you here on Speak Up, the podcast that helps you build confidence and sound more natural when speaking English. Whether you're new or a regular listener, we're really happy you're spending time with us today. We know learning English can be tough, but you're not alone, and this space is all about growing together.
Hey friends, I'm Priya. We're here to help you get better at English, step by step, in a fun and practical way. No pressure, no long grammar lessons, just useful conversations that make English feel more natural. Every week we talk about real situations, share tips, and help you speak more confidently.
Exactly. And don't worry if you make mistakes. This show is for real people, not perfect people. We're going to talk like friends. And the best part? Everything we share can be used in your daily life. From chatting with coworkers to ordering food or even making new friends.
So grab a cup of tea or coffee, relax, and listen in. Today's episode is something many of us struggle with, but once you understand it, your English will become faster and easier. Ready? Let's get started.
All right. Now that we've introduced what today's episode is all about, let's dive into the first big question. Why does thinking in English feel so difficult for so many people? Honestly, it's not just about knowing words. A lot of learners get stuck because they're trying to translate every sentence in their heads from their native language. That slows everything down. Your brain's working in two languages at once, and that creates a mental traffic jam. Thinking in English isn't about knowing more words. It's about making your brain stay in English.
Exactly, Ryan. I see this a lot, especially with people who actually know a lot of English vocabulary, but they freeze when it's time to speak. Why? Because they're busy translating. The moment you start thinking, okay, how do I say this in English? You've already slowed down. That back and forth between languages creates delays and builds pressure. And let's be real, when you feel pressure, it's even harder to remember the words you do know. That's where most English fluency struggles begin.
And it gets worse when you're in a real-time situation, like someone asks you a question, and your mind just goes blank. It's not that you don't know the answer. It's just that your brain is digging through files. First your native language, then trying to find the English version. That pause feels forever long. Thinking in English is like building a habit. And right now, most learners have the habit of translating, not responding directly in English. That's the block we need to break.
Right. And another big reason people struggle with thinking in English is vocabulary recall. You might know the word, but at the moment it hides. You've studied it before, maybe even written it down, but when someone talks to you, it just won't come out. That's because your brain hasn't practiced using that word quickly. So when the moment comes, your brain takes too long to pull it up. That's why building speed takes practice. It's more about training than just studying.
And then there's the fear factor, probably the biggest one. So many learners are afraid to make mistakes. They worry they'll sound silly or be judged, especially in group conversations or at work. That fear slows you down. It tells your brain, wait, double-check everything, and that kills fluency. But here's the truth. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. The goal isn't perfection, it's communication. You can't think fast if you're too scared to try.
Yes, and that fear becomes a wall. You might have great grammar, good vocabulary, and even decent listening skills, but if you're constantly thinking, what if I mess up? Then your brain won't feel safe enough to respond quickly. Thinking in English is about confidence as much as skill. And confidence comes from trying, failing a little, then trying again. The more relaxed you are, the faster your thoughts will flow in English. It really is like building muscle, one thought at a time. Now that we've talked about why thinking in English feels hard, let's get into something that confuses a lot of learners. What's the difference between thinking in English and speaking in English? They sound similar, right? But they're not. Thinking is a passive process. It's what happens in your head. How fast your brain connects words, forms ideas, and understands what's going on. Speaking, on the other hand, is active. It's what comes out of your mouth. One supports the other, but they don't always grow at the same speed.
That's so true. A lot of people focus only on speaking fluently. They practice pronunciation, they memorize phrases, but inside, they're still thinking in their native language. That's why it can feel like something's missing. If you're not thinking fast in English, your speech will always feel a little delayed. For example, imagine you're ordering food at a restaurant. If you're thinking in English, you can just say, "Can I get a coffee, please?" But if you're translating, even that simple sentence can feel like a test.
Exactly, and let's take something more serious, like a job interview. You might practice your answers in English, but during the real conversation, if your brain is still translating, you'll hesitate, pause, and maybe forget what you wanted to say. Thinking in English means your ideas are already ready in English, so speaking becomes smoother. It's like your thoughts and your words are on the same team instead of playing catch-up with each other.
And that happens in casual chats too. You're talking to a friend or meeting someone new, and suddenly your brain goes, "Wait, what's the English word for that?" That moment of confusion breaks your flow. But here's the thing. If your thoughts are already in English, you don't need to search for the word. It just comes. That's the magic of thinking fast in English. It makes conversations feel natural instead of like an exam.
Here's the interesting part. Most learners can speak English at least a little, but they don't think in English. They've learned how to respond, but they haven't trained their brain to stay in English throughout a conversation. That's why speaking fluently feels harder. It's not just about speaking, it's about preparing your brain to think in English first. Once your thoughts start forming in English, your speech becomes quicker and more confident.
And we're not saying you need to think in full, perfect English sentences all the time. It can start small. Even just noticing that you're forming ideas in English, words, simple phrases, short thoughts, that's progress. Speaking fluently starts with thinking clearly. And thinking fast in English isn't something you're born with. It's a skill you build. We're going to show you exactly how to build it, step by step. Now that we've understood how thinking and speaking in English are different, let's talk about something really practical. How to train your brain to actually think in English every day. And trust me, this doesn't have to take hours. One of the best daily English habits you can start right now is what I call micro-English thinking. Just 5 seconds at a time. Look at your surroundings and describe what you see or feel in English. For example, "I'm feeling hungry," or "The sky looks cloudy." Small thoughts like these, done often, build real fluency.
Yes, and I love that because it doesn't feel like studying. It's natural. You're already having these thoughts in your native language, so why not switch the language in your head to English? That's where English self-talk comes in. If you're cooking, say in your mind, "I'm chopping tomatoes," or "The rice needs 5 more minutes." If you're walking, say, "I see a yellow car," or "It's hot today." These tiny daily English habits create a loop in your brain that tells it, "Hey, English is the default now."
Exactly, Priya. It might feel silly at first, but this kind of self-talk rewires your thinking patterns, and it's all about repetition. The more you do it, the faster your brain will start reacting in English automatically. At the beginning, you might pause and think, "How do I say this?" But after a week or two, you'll notice you don't need to stop. You just know. That's how speed builds. You're not memorizing anymore. You're flowing.
And the best part? You don't need a classroom, a teacher, or even Wi-Fi to do this. You're already brushing your teeth, folding clothes, or walking your dog. Just add English self-talk to those moments. If you stay consistent with this, your brain slowly starts thinking in English without being asked to. That's when you really begin to think faster and speak better. And it doesn't take hours. Just these little daily English habits done regularly.
Right. And think about it like a gym for your brain. You don't lift heavy weights the first day. You start small and build strength over time. It's the same with English thinking. These short 5-second thoughts might not feel like much at first, but they're powerful. They make your brain work in English again and again, and soon it won't feel like practice anymore. It'll feel natural, just like breathing.
So, if you're wondering where to start with what you're doing right now. Look around and say one sentence in your head in English. That's it. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is a habit. It's about making English part of your everyday thinking. And once you build that habit, thinking fast and speaking fluently becomes way easier because your brain is already warmed up and ready to go.
So now that we've talked about micro-English habits and daily self-talk, let's move one step deeper. How to think without translating. This is where visual thinking becomes a real game changer. Most learners get stuck because they see something, think about it in their native language, then try to find the English word. That slows everything down. But what if you could bypass that step completely? Just see the picture in your mind and say the word in English. That's what fluent speakers do, and you can train yourself to do it too.
Yes, Ryan, and the trick is to link English directly to the picture in your mind, not to your native word. For example, when you see a dog running, don't say dog in your language first. Go straight to the dog is running. Or it's barking. That way, you're building a direct connection between English and what you see. And this method helps you visualize in English. It's like teaching your brain a new shortcut that skips the old path completely.
Right. And to make this a habit, you can use simple tools like flashcards or even short video clips. Try watching a short scene with no subtitles and just describe what's happening out loud or in your head. Say things like, he's opening the door, or she's laughing. This kind of real-time description builds that instant visual-to-English link. It's one of the fastest ways to train your brain to think without translating.
And you can even use real-world objects around you. Hold up a spoon and say, spoon. Pour water and say, I'm pouring water. These tiny moments matter. Your brain starts connecting the action or object directly with English. And once this becomes your go-to way of thinking, you'll feel so much lighter, like you've removed a step from the process. That's when fluency starts to kick in naturally.
Exactly. It's all about speed and flow, and visual thinking gives you both. The more you do it, the less you'll rely on your native language. Eventually, your brain won't even have time to translate. It'll just think in English automatically. That's how you speed up your internal processing, and that's what thinking fast in English is all about.
So next time you're walking around, try this. Pick 3 things you see and describe them in English without thinking in your native tongue. It could be red car, woman talking, kids playing. Start with simple stuff. No pressure to make perfect grammar. Just make that visual English connection. That habit alone can totally change the way you think and communicate in English.
Now that we've talked about using pictures and skipping translation, let's look at another super useful strategy, using common sentence patterns and phrases. This is one of the fastest ways to speak without overthinking. Instead of building sentences from scratch every time, you rely on ready-made patterns like I'd like to or can I get? Think of these as your English building blocks. You just plug in the rest, and you're ready to speak fast and fluently.
Exactly. Think about how often we ask for things in daily life. If you already know the pattern, can I get? Then saying, can I get a coffee? Becomes automatic. You don't pause, you don't translate, you just speak. These common English phrases act like shortcuts for your brain. The more patterns you memorize and use, the less you have to think when it's time to speak.
Right. And it works beautifully in situations like traveling or working. For example, I'd like to book a room is way faster than trying to figure out the sentence piece by piece. You're not worried about grammar or sentence structure. You already have the frame. You just fill it in. This method really helps you speak faster in English, especially under pressure or in real-time conversations.
Yes. And here's another one. What do you think about? It's perfect for starting conversations or asking opinions. You can say, what do you think about this movie? Or, what do you think about working from home? You don't need to overthink the grammar. You're just switching out the topic. And with practice, it feels completely natural.
What's great is that these patterns also help your confidence. When you use phrases that native speakers use all the time, your speech sounds smoother. You avoid awkward pauses, and people understand you faster. Start with 10 or 15 of these, repeat them daily, and use them in your daily routine. You'll notice a huge difference in your speaking speed.
And the best part is, you can practice these on your own. Say them while making coffee or walking to work. For example, I'd like to learn something new today. Or, can I get some help with this? That kind of repetition builds fluency from the ground up. Soon, you won't even have to think. The phrases will just come out automatically.
Now that we've covered using common phrases to speak faster, let's talk about something fun, fast response activities. These are perfect if you want to train your brain to react quickly in English. Think of it like reflex training. One great example is a game I call Rapid English Q&A. You get asked a simple question and you answer immediately. No time to think, just react. It might feel tough at first, but it's one of the best quick English thinking exercises you can do.
That's such a good one, Ryan. I also love the 15-second opinion challenge. Someone gives you a topic, like coffee or summer vacations, and you have to share your thoughts in 15 seconds in English. No long pauses, no perfect grammar, just speak. These challenges help you get comfortable thinking and speaking fast. And honestly, they turn fast English practice into something exciting, not scary.
Right. And if you're learning alone, you don't have to rely on a partner. There are amazing English learning apps out there with speed drills. Apps like Duolingo or Elsa ask you quick questions and expect immediate answers. Some even give you a timer. That pressure actually helps. Over time, your brain gets faster at picking the right words without hesitation. It's like exercising your English reflexes.
And don't forget the Quizlet. It's usually used for flashcards, but there are speed modes where you race to match words or answer questions. That kind of quick English thinking exercise makes your brain more alert in English mode. It's not just about what you know, it's how fast you can access it. And that's the skill we really need in real-life conversations.
I totally agree. But here's a pro tip. Practice with someone who challenges you to speak faster. If you have a friend, tutor, or conversation partner who doesn't wait forever for you to answer, it helps you stop overthinking. You're forced to trust your instincts and just go with it. That's how confidence builds up too.
Yes, having someone push you, even kindly, makes all the difference. You don't have time to translate in your head or doubt your sentence. You just reply. Even if it's not perfect, it's practice. And the more you practice fast English thinking, the more natural it becomes. After a while, you won't believe how quickly you can respond.
Now that we've explored quick response games and speed drills, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools out there, English shadowing. If you've never tried it, here's the idea. You pick a short clip of a native speaker, could be from a YouTube video, a podcast, even a movie scene, and you repeat what they say immediately without pausing. You're not just copying words, you're copying their speed, tone, and flow.
Exactly, Ryan. I do this all the time with short TED Talks or sitcoms. I listen to a 10-second clip, then rewind and try to shadow the speaker, meaning I speak along with them as closely as I can. It's not about understanding every word perfectly. It's about imitating native speakers, how they link words together, their natural rhythm, even their energy. At first, it feels fast, but with practice, your brain keeps up.
That's the magic of English shadowing, isn't it? You're training your ears and your mouth at the same time. And the best part, you're not translating anything. You're just following along like singing lyrics to a song. That rhythm helps your thinking speed, too. You start hearing common sentence patterns automatically. And when it's time to speak, those phrases just come out faster.
I've also noticed that shadowing helps reduce hesitation. You stop saying or so much because you're getting used to speaking smoothly. One tip, start with short, simple clips. Don't dive into fast news reports right away. Even a cooking video works. Pick one speaker and repeat their exact words, tone, and timing. It's fun and super effective if you want to speak faster and sound natural.
And here's something else. Shadowing builds confidence. When you copy the way native speakers talk, you start to feel more like them. You don't just improve pronunciation, you start to think in English more naturally. So instead of pausing to figure out, how do I say this? Your brain already has a model. It's like mental muscle memory.
That's such a great way to put it. Mental muscle memory. And if you shadow daily, even for just 5 minutes, you'll feel the results. You'll be faster, smoother, and more confident. It's one of the best ways to imitate native speakers and improve your fluency without even realizing how much you're growing.
Finally, let's talk about something many learners struggle with: the fear of making mistakes. If you want to think fast in English, this fear can slow you down big time. So here's the thing. Don't aim for perfect grammar every time. Instead, focus on quick communication. It's better to get your idea out fast, even if it's not 100% perfect.
Absolutely, Ryan. And it's totally okay to mess up sometimes. What really helps is learning how to recover smoothly. You can say things like, wait, let me say that again, or this shows you're trying and it keeps the conversation flowing. It's way better than freezing or staying silent because you're worried about making a mistake. That's how you speak English without fear and build your fast thinking confidence.
Yeah, confidence doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from trying again and again, even when you're unsure. The more quick attempts you make, the faster your brain learns to think in English. Mistakes become less scary, and you get better at fixing yourself on the spot. It's a skill anyone can build with practice.
And remember, every fluent speaker started exactly where you are now, making mistakes and learning to think faster. So don't give up if it feels hard. The important part is to keep speaking, keep practicing, and trust yourself. The more you push through that fear, the quicker your English will improve.
That wraps up our episode today on how to think quickly in English. We hope these tips and exercises help you speak faster, more naturally, and with confidence. Thanks so much for spending your time with us here on Speak Up.
Yes, thank you all. Keep practicing every day, and remember, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. We can't wait to join you again for our next episode. Until then, keep speaking up and thinking fast in English.